Angel Reese celebrated a block she didn't even make. Her teammate Madina Okot swatted Caitlin Clark, and Reese ran over to talk trash like she was the one who did something. Then, a few possessions later, Myisha Hines-Allen literally dropped her to the floor and humiliates her after trying to attack Caitlin Clark. The Fever didn't bring Hines-Allen in to be nice, and the final score of 83-71 with Reese finishing 4 turnovers, the most of anyone on the court, told the whole story before the post-game interviews even started. Let's show some love for Myisha down in the comments below. So let's talk about what actually happened on that play, because it tells you everything you need to know about how Angel Reese approaches this rivalry. Madina Okot goes up and blocks Caitlin Clark's shot, clean block, good defense, Okot does her job. Reese wasn't anywhere close to that play. She wasn't contesting, she wasn't rotating, she wasn't within 5 feet of where the ball got swatted. But the second it happened, Reese sprinted over to get in Clark's face like she personally ripped the ball out of the air herself, and the refs are standing right there watching the whole thing, which means everyone on that floor saw exactly what she did and exactly what she didn't do.
Clark around the Hines-Allen screen. Clark to the Okot.
She's showing us.
Yeah.
She's showing us something.
The
I like
rookie's
it.
moving.
The improvement on that end. I mean, this is terrific. Chase down that length that she has. We talk so much and we start.
That's a bold move. Running up to talk trash over a block you had nothing to do with takes a certain kind of confidence, or maybe a certain kind of desperation. And a few possessions later, Reese pushed it further by telling Clark to stop flopping in front of the referee. Clark flopping. This from the player who just borrowed a teammate's block and worn it like a badge. The Fever bench caught every second of it, and you could see the reaction from Indiana's players on the sideline, because this kind of thing doesn't go unnoticed when you're a professional athlete competing at that level. What makes the whole routine fall apart is context. Trash talk lands differently when your team's up 10 and you're the reason why. Atlanta wasn't up 10. The Dream were getting squeezed defensively, and Reese was already racking up turnovers while doing her loudest talking, so the theater wasn't backed by anything happening on the actual score sheet. When you're the most high-profile player on a team that's losing grip of the game and your contribution to the night is 4 turnovers, running over to celebrate someone else's block is a rough look.
Angel Reese, part 9. Get ready, she's gonna whine. Let's get it. Bang! Crazy stat for you. 19% of her shots are either blocked or an air ball. 19% of the time, they don't hit the rim. Bang! Holy mackerel! It's a Caitlin Clark cameo! No, don't do it to him! Protect the kids! Bang! He's a foot away, should be an easy putback, right? 19%! Bang! Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee, get swatted like Angel Reese! Bang!
Reese does this though. She leans hardest into the rivalry stuff on the nights when she's struggling to actually move the needle in the game itself. And Indiana's coaching staff spent the offseason specifically preparing for this exact kind of opponent. Physical, loud, confrontational, and built to make Clark uncomfortable through contact and noise rather than clean basketball. So when Reese started performing for the cameras early, the Fever weren't rattled or adjusting on the fly. They'd already planned for it. The answer Indiana prepared wasn't a defensive scheme or a timeout play. It was a person. A veteran who came into this game with one job: make Reese feel every single catch, every post entry, every attempt to establish position in the paint, and she didn't need to clap back at the refs or sprint over to steal someone else's moment to do it.
Sometimes you just wonder if she says, F it, the rim's up there somewhere, has to be, right? Bang! Dirty player, look at her. Watch this, elbow to Caitlin Clark's head, send her to Guantanamo Bay! Bang!
Go ahead, review that.
What's been planted longer, a full-grown maple tree or Angel Reese in the paint? How about it? Bang! Maple? But what about butter? Butter? Butter pecan! Bang!
Last season, every team in the WNBA figured out the same thing. If you body Clark every time she touches the ball, hold, grab, shove her off her spots, the refs aren't stopping the game to protect her, so you might as well make her miserable the whole night. And it worked. Not every game, but enough that Indiana's front office watched the film and decided they weren't going to let it happen again without a real answer. That answer was Myisha Hines-Allen, who came over from Dallas, a reputation for playing physical and mean in the paint, and absolutely no interest in making friends with the people she's guarding. On paper, her job is post-play, screening, and rebounding. But the actual reason Indiana signed her is simpler. She changes what opposing players are willing to try when Clark drives the lane, because there's now a veteran enforcer standing right there who will make you pay for it.
Quite a bit of foul trouble in this half. To put it into perspective, Mabry has 3, Sanaya Rivers has 3 fouls, Bria Hartley has 3 fouls.
That's your wing depth.
Before Hines-Allen arrived, Clark absorbed contact on nearly every drive, got bodied off screens, got fouled without the whistle blowing, and burned mental energy just surviving the physicality that should have been going toward reading defenses and finding open teammates. That's not a small thing. When a point guard is spending half her brainpower figuring out how to not get knocked over, she's not spending it on the things that make her dangerous. The passes, the cuts, the pick and roll reads that generate easy buckets for everyone else. Hines-Allen's presence reshapes that whole equation for opposing coaches. Send a hard double at Clark? There's a veteran sitting in the pocket who's going to punish you for leaving her open. Try to chase Clark off a screen with your body? Hines-Allen's setting that screen, and she's not going through the motions with it. Sophie Cunningham brings defensive length on the wing, and Tyasha Harris gives Clark a steady backup at point guard, but neither of them changes what happens to Clark's defender the way Hines-Allen does. She's the one who actually shifts the body language of the people assigned to stop Clark, because they know what's waiting in the paint if they gamble wrong.
Now, take a look at this here altercation where Caitlin Clark hit a logo bomb. I mean, absolutely hit a logo bomb all over. And then she's talking that talking cash, S-H-I-T. And you're going to see look at Myisha Hines-Allen running to get in front of her. Don't you dare do nothing. You better fall back. You better fall back.
Indiana's front office didn't splash money on a big name or swing a dramatic trade. They found a veteran who understood exactly what her role required and wanted it. And that's harder to find than people think, because not every experienced player accepts a job that's mostly about protecting someone else's star and making the other team uncomfortable. Hines-Allen embraced it. Every screen she sets, every post position she takes, every time she steps between Clark and whoever's trying to start something physical, she's sending a message that the Fever spent all offseason trying to send. And the moment Hines-Allen and Reese actually shared the paint together, you could see pretty quickly which one of them was ready for that matchup. When Hines-Allen put Reese on the floor, it wasn't a flagrant, it wasn't a flop, it wasn't a ref's judgment call. It was a veteran enforcer doing exactly what Indiana brought her to do. And Reese ended up on the ground as a direct result of it. The whole building felt it. Reese came into this game with a physical reputation and a habit of using her size to push smaller players around in the paint, and Hines-Allen didn't try to argue with any of that. She just matched it and then went harder. Reese likes to bully. Hines-Allen came in with a championship ring and zero patience for being bullied back, so that dynamic lasted about 2 possessions before Reese figured out this wasn't going to be a comfortable night. Look at the stat line Reese finished with. 11 points, 10 rebounds, double-double, looks fine in a tweet. But she also racked up 4 turnovers, the most of any player on either team. And her shooting was bad enough that the double-double came from volume and hustle rather than anything she actually executed cleanly against Indiana's defense. 4 turnovers in a game your team loses by 12 isn't a double-double to post about. It's a rough night wearing a respectable costume. Those turnovers weren't flukes either. Indiana's help rotations kept collapsing on Reese's catches, and Hines-Allen's positioning in the paint forced Reese into off-balance pivots and rushed passes she wouldn't normally attempt, and Indiana converted those mistakes into transition buckets going the other way. Hines-Allen didn't knock Reese down once and then disappear into the background. She stayed in Reese's space every single possession, making every catch uncomfortable, every post-up a contest, every attempt to get a clean look a problem that needed solving.
This is Johnson outside to Boston. Yes!
That's a scary sight. Like just for
Aaliyah Boston added 19 points, 7 rebounds, and 3 three-pointers, which Atlanta's scouting report simply wasn't built to handle. Boston spacing the floor from 3, while also protecting the interior, isn't a combination the Dream had any real answer for, because their bigs couldn't afford to leave her on the perimeter and their guards couldn't stop her from getting inside when she wanted to. Atlanta's defense kept having to make 2 wrong choices at the same time. Indiana held the Dream to a season-low point total, and that didn't happen by accident. Gray and Howard and Reese, 3 players who can genuinely hurt you on any given night, spent most of this game taking contested shots on early clock situations that Indiana's defense specifically manufactured. The Fever were organized and aggressive in a way Atlanta couldn't adjust to, and by the time the Dream tried switching their coverages late, Indiana had already built a lead that absorbed the adjustments. Boston and Hines-Allen together owned that paint in a way Atlanta's entire front court couldn't match. And while all of that was happening, Clark was quietly putting together one of the more impressive stat lines of her young career, while sick.
A little sick, but I don't know, I tried to eat some applesauce and then it just came up, and then everything else in my stomach also came up, so I thought I was gonna stay down, and then I found a trash can, thank God, and I haven't puked that much in a really long time, but then I felt fine. I felt light, so I was running around feeling good in the second half, but I feel okay. Obviously, I'm losing my voice a little bit, but I'll be good.
Clark walked into that locker room at halftime and threw up. Then she ate some applesauce, walked back out, and proceeded to run Indiana's offense in the third quarter like the intermission was completely routine. That's just who she is competitively, and the numbers she finished with don't let you argue otherwise. 17 points, 8 assists, and 7 rebounds. 1 rebound short of a triple-double against a defense that spent the entire game scheming specifically to take her shot away. The third quarter is where Indiana put this game away. The Fever went on a 16-3 run that turned a tight game into a comfortable 12-point lead. And Clark was the engine driving the whole stretch, reading Atlanta's scrambling rotations, finding cutters before the defense could recover, and attacking gaps that kept opening up every time the Dream tried to double or trap. Atlanta had no good answer for it because every adjustment they tried just moved the problem somewhere else on the floor. Her shooting wasn't perfect on the night, and that's worth being honest about. But 8 assists against a defense built to funnel everything toward traps and hard doubles means Clark read every single one of those traps correctly and found the right pass anyway. And she did that while physically dealing with a stomach illness that would have had most people calling out of work, let alone competing at a professional level. She actually told reporters post-game that she felt light after getting sick, and she meant it as a good thing, which is a funny way to frame it until you watch the third quarter film and see her sprinting in transition faster than anyone Atlanta had on the floor.
How did you feel about your game tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I would have loved to shoot the ball a little bit better. I could have, even if a couple more go down, not that I shot it like horribly, but other than that, I feel like this is probably one of the best floor games I've played in a really long time. I thought I guarded really well, was aggressive on defense, got us into what we wanted to get into on offense, found my teammates in spots to make them successful. So overall, I honestly thought I played a really good game, and the way we played as a team was great as well, and we got to keep doing that. And if we're able to guard like that and limit the other team to the things that they want to do really well, I think we beat them on the glass. I think we made them turn the ball over more than they turned the ball over and things like that. We're going to be really successful, so proud of our group for the way they responded.
Clark's defense also held up on the night, guarding wings and ball handlers who can genuinely hurt you if you give them space. And that's the part of her game that critics spent most of last season loudly questioning. She answered it on the same night her stomach was refusing to cooperate, which feels appropriate given how that criticism always underestimated her. Post-game, she kept it short, saying the Fever played a really good game and that they guarded. No speech about her own numbers, no mention of being sick, just a direct read on what actually won the game. That's not false modesty from a player trying to seem team first. That's a player who watched Indiana hold Atlanta to a season-low point total and understood exactly why it happened. 17 points, 8 assists, 7 rebounds while sick against a defense built around stopping her, while Hines-Allen was literally dropping opponents to the floor 40 feet away. is the kind of night that makes the rivalry narrative with Reese genuinely difficult to take seriously. And while Clark was doing all of that, Kelsey Mitchell was putting on a shooting performance that made the whole thing look easy.
Oh, sidestep, Clark. Sick! Clark quickly. A dime! Mitchell the lane! 7-0. Indiana run.
Then one night, Kelsey Mitchell dropped 25 points on 11 of 15 shooting and crossed 5,000 career points doing it. And she got there by attacking Atlanta's defense in transition and off screens in a way the Dream genuinely couldn't solve once the third quarter opened up. That efficiency number, 11 of 15, doesn't happen because a shooter got hot. It happens because Atlanta's defense kept getting forced into impossible choices between stopping Mitchell or stopping Clark, and Indiana's spacing made sure neither option was actually available. That's the Clark and Mitchell backcourt combination working exactly the way Indiana drew it up. You shade toward Clark, Mitchell gets clean looks off screens all night. You shade toward Mitchell, Clark gets the driving lanes that produced those 8 assists. Atlanta tried both approaches and spent most of the game paying for whichever one they picked, which is a miserable way to spend 40 minutes as a defensive coordinator.
Reese attacking, blocked by Boston. Clark quickly, a dime, Mitchell the lane. 7-0, Indiana run.
Atlanta's adjustments kept failing partly because Boston's 3 three-pointers were stretching the floor in ways that forced their bigs into decisions they weren't comfortable making, and partly because Hines-Allen's screens were physical enough to actually spring shooters free rather than just creating minor traffic. There's a difference between a screen that slows a defender down and a screen that removes them from the play entirely. Hines-Allen's screens did the second thing, and Mitchell kept running off them into open catch-and-shoot looks that she absolutely buried. Indiana's bench held the rhythm together during the stretches when Clark and Mitchell rested, and that matters more than people give it credit for. Cunningham's length disrupted Atlanta's wing players on defense, and Harris kept the offense moving at point guard without creating mistakes that swung momentum back to the Dream. A team that falls apart the moment its starters sit down doesn't win a series. The Fever didn't fall apart.
Mitchell penetrates. Mitchell, automatic.
Mitchell crossing 5,000 career points in a Commissioner's Cup opener against a team that came in loud about rivalry and physicality, while shooting 11 of 15 and scoring 25, is just a different kind of statement than a milestone that comes on a quiet Tuesday against a bad team. Indiana held Atlanta to a season-low point total, got a near triple-double from a sick Clark, got 19 points and 3 threes from Boston, got a career milestone from Mitchell, and watched Hines-Allen physically drop the player who'd been talking the loudest. All of it in one game, all of it working together. This Fever roster isn't built around Clark surviving long enough to carry everyone else. It's built around a defensive identity, real interior protection, backcourt scoring that doesn't stop when you try to take Clark away, and a veteran enforcer who changed what Atlanta was willing to attempt from the opening tip. Clark's MVP case and Indiana's championship case aren't two separate arguments. They're the same one, and the 83-71 final score is what that argument looks like in practice. Reese celebrated a block she didn't make, told Clark to stop flopping in front of the refs, turned the ball over 4 times against a defense built specifically to make her uncomfortable, and finished with a double-double that falls apart the second you read past the headline numbers. Meanwhile, Clark nearly tripled up while sick, Mitchell crossed 5,000 career points shooting 11 of 15, and Hines-Allen literally dropped Reese to the floor. Let's show some love for Myisha down in the comments below. Like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you don't miss out on all things basketball. Click the video on the screen, and we will see you in the next one.